Having recently achieved my long service leave at work, what better way to spend it than by heading off for an extended holiday to France and Europe? Not only do I speak French, but France is one of those incredible countries that's on nearly everybody's bucket list and has just so many wonderful things to see and to offer.
Right now, I'm in Strasbourg, France, and although it is incredibly cold, right now we've reached today's maximum temperature of 0 degrees. I can safely say it is one of the most beautiful cities I have ever visited.
This is a town that just keeps on giving. As a tourist, it's hard to walk anywhere without stumbling upon something new and incredibly beautiful to admire. The whole old town is surrounded by a series of canals. These can be explored by crossing over the Pont Couvert, the footbridges, or by taking a boat ride. The architecture here ranges from classic French to Gothic churches and also a really large number of original medieval. A special bonus in Strasbourg for the toy enthusiast is that it's a Christmas tradition for businesses and stores to hang teddy bears and other stuffed toys above their buildings as a display.
When it comes to shopping for dolls, like in Australia, we can either go to a specialised toy store or a department store. I have noticed that the smaller stores seem a bit more common here as opposed to those big multinational conglomerates.
For my first doll expedition here, I wanted to find out what toys are readily available in French stores that I wouldn't be able to find in Australia or maybe even outside of Europe. The first store I decided to explore is called Bonom de Bois. It's one of the smaller retailers in France, and nearly everything here was French and local. The first item I found that fell into the fashion doll category was the brand Moulin Roty. This company creates handcrafted fabric dolls in a kind of upmarket ragdoll style. There are both animals and human variants. My favourites fitted into the fashion doll category, or at least I felt they were close. These dolls are called Les Parisiennes. They are beautiful little rag dolls with hair, faces, shoes sewn into them, but all of the clothes are removable. Some of them even come in these incredible display cases that include what's called a penderie or a wardrobe and various different clothing items that can be changed. The smaller dolls are fairly comparable in size or height to a Barbie, while there are also much larger dolls who are more comparable in size to a 16-inch doll or a tonner. I just love the boxes that these dolls come in, although I think it would be nice if extra clothing was more readily available if you purchase one that doesn't have a wardrobe. But perhaps this is meant to encourage the creativity of creating your own clothes for these wonderful dolls. The next dolls I came across were some whose faces and design immediately grabbed me. They're incredibly sweet, but the clothing is also very detailed and fits on them beautifully. These are vinyl dolls, and they come in various different sizes. They're made by the French company Peti-cola, who actually have their factory located quite close to here. I've heard they are produced in the Vosges, which is a mountain range very close to Strasbourg. These dolls are very, very well designed. They have nice boxes, although not quite as beautiful as Les Parisiennes. And with the ease of dressing and the prettiness of the clothes, I feel that these fit more accurately into the fashion doll category. I particularly liked this group of dolls who are about 40 centimetres high, so they are roughly the same size as a tonner doll, but obviously they have a more childlike figure. The price was not too bad, although a little bit dear, but I did find out in my research later that the renowned artist Sylvia Natterer works for the Peti-cola company. So they really do have a lot of prestige in the doll world. The body blushing is done really nicely and gives these dolls a realistic aspect, although I do wish that they had more posability, as that would make them even more exciting for an adult collector. But I can see that these are more suited to perhaps a child, but they do have a lot of collector appeal as well. Again, it would be nice if more outfits that were absolutely suited to these dolls were readily available. From one extreme to the other, my next stop is an absolute powerhouse of French fashion, the largest and best known of all the department stores in France. Galeries Lafayette is best known for its designer fashion wear and high-end clothing, but when I researched online where to buy dolls, this was one of the first suggestions that came up. Being in this store is genuinely a bit overwhelming. It's really hard to capture on film the absolute scale that you see when walking around. Perhaps it's because the Strasbourg store is significantly smaller than the Paris store, but I was disappointed in the range of dolls that are available here. I really only managed to find one doll who had changeable clothes, and although she is adorable, and that's literally her name, Mon Adorable Poupée, she definitely isn't a traditional fashion doll, but more aimed at children. That said, I really loved a few things about this cute doll made by the Sergeant Major brand, who is a French fashion maker. One thing is her really sweet face, and the other is her fashions. Now, Sergeant Major is actually a clothing designer for children, and so a lot of these clothes are actually replicas of items that you can buy for your kids, and because of that, there are a lot more fashions available than for some of the other dolls that I have explored in the stores here. And that gives these sweet little dolls a great range of versatility for dressing. There's also some furniture available for them, and again, really great play value. The doll has a genuinely adorable face, and she has opening and closed eyes. I love the box that she comes in. I also think it's really cute that she has her name embroidered onto her chest. There are also a couple of larger scale toy chains here. The first I decided to explore is called King Jouet. Jouet is the French word for toy. This was a really fun shop to explore, and I was genuinely quite impressed by the range of dolls and toys available here. It's pretty easy to find Rainbow High and Monster High dolls anywhere you go, but I was happy to see a good range of both older and newer dolls. In particular, I was happy to see the new range of Shadow High dolls here, which I've never seen yet in Australia. Amongst the more well-known American dolls, I found these unique eyes girls. I didn't initially twig that they were not ones who were available only in Europe, but when I looked at them online afterwards, I found that this is a Spanish doll made by the Famosa company. They're cute dolls with large heads who remind me a little bit of the Japanese Blythe doll. They claim to have a magic eyes function. I'm not at all sure what that is. I didn't love these dolls as they looked a little bit too much like a toy for a child, but nonetheless, they're a cute fashion doll to have found. I was really happy to find dolls by the French company Corolle, probably the best known of all the French doll makers. I've heard of these and seen them online before, but I've never seen them in store as they are only sold across Europe. Corolle make a wide variety of dolls designed mostly for children, as you can see from the range here. So we've got baby-style dolls and other stuffed dolls that are good for kids. The dolls that I was most excited to find were called the Corolle girls. They're about 28 centimetres tall, so maybe a tiny bit shorter than a Barbie, and they're dressed in fashionable clothes suitable for a young teenager. They have really sweet faces, and their accessories remind me quite a bit of what you would get with a Rainbow High doll. This particular city girl really captured my attention as she comes in Paris-style clothes with the Eiffel Tower on her shirt. She's one I feel that I really might want to purchase. She's the Valentine Paris set. There are several other city girls, each one designed to represent a visit to a particular city. I also really like that these dolls have quite a few separate clothing that you can purchase to dress them and redress them, as that's great for play value and also for styling options. Of all my doll finds, this was the one I was most excited to spot in store, as I already know the Nancy doll. In fact, I have a few in my collection at home, both vintage ones and modern ones, but I've never seen her in store. Nancy is a Spanish doll. She's made by the Famosa company, so the same one who makes the unique eyes, but this is kind of their flagship doll. In fact, she was first produced in 1968, so she was actually a vintage doll and has been I think, produced for a long time, mostly continuously. She's still probably the most famous doll by Famosa. There are two different designs for Nancy available now. This one that you can see in store here has the more modern, more commercialized face sculpt, but you can also get ones that have the vintage face sculpt that are re-editions and also updated designs. And I have several of them at home, and they are great dolls. Now, King Jouet, being a pretty big store, also has, as well as those more unique dolls, a pretty large collection of Barbie and other standard fashion dolls. Not super exciting, but of course good to see all these nice fashion dolls available. I have never seen the super large doll before, so that was an interesting one that captured my attention for a little while. They're not really a size that I would like to have in my collection, but nonetheless something I haven't seen in store in Australia, so it was cool to spot in store here. Many of the Barbie movie dolls, the car's been very popular. This one, my first Barbie, also one I just haven't seen before. I've seen her online though, and again, many nice dolls that you could find in a lot of stores, but great to see a good variety of all different types of Barbie and Disney dolls. The last store I decided to explore is called La Grande Récré, roughly translates to the big playtime. I guess it's not too different from King Jouet in terms of what kind of store it is and what it offers. A pretty medium-sized toy store, fairly well known. Nice array of Monster High dolls, just like we saw in the other store and like we might be able to find in various places. It was good to see some of the furniture sets that I haven't necessarily spotted in store in Australia. In the younger children's section, I always get drawn to ones which have French writing on them, as it really highlights to me that, the difference in what we can find here as to what we can find in other countries. These ones are called Il était une fois des princesses, once there were princesses. And I guess they have cute faces. Clearly they are meant for children. They say 3+, and you can just see in the design that they're more kids dolls. But I like the style. I like that we have a range of different skin tones. Here, like in King Jouet, there are some Nancy dolls available. It was nice to see just a slightly different assortment of the dolls, and as they were lower down, I was able to get a nice view of their faces. I'm still not quite sure if I love the modern Nancy face, but I'm hoping to get hold of one. I actually don't have one with this face sculpt in Australia, so I am excited to get hold of one now that I can choose in store. This one here, which I didn't see in King Jouet, came with a nice little dresser and lots of accessories. This doll I spotted, I have no idea if she is unique to Europe, probably not, but I haven't seen her before. She's called My Lovely Doll, and what interested me about this one is just that she's 90 centimeters tall, so she really is a mammoth doll, and kind of an interesting one to spot. The Corolle dolls, again, have quite a significant section in this store, showing just how popular they are. And I think it's really interesting to see that what we take for granted in toy store isn't necessarily the same across the world, as, you just would not see these in an Australian or even a US store, and yet they take up probably as big a section here as anything except Barbie. They are really cute dolls. Those are, again, the Corolle girls, but you can see that there's a large array of baby dolls as well, and several other sizes and types. I like that even the baby dolls have a really good selection of clothing that you can dress and change them in. The Barbie selection is nonetheless still the biggest in store, so it shows what a great powerhouse Mattel has become. Pretty similar to what we'd see in other countries. I did quite like the totally hair Barbie that I spotted, and there are some other nice ones here, but I guess it's not that different from what we would find in most stores. It's good to see the collector 35th anniversary Barbie. Again, she's not rare, but it can be hard to find the more collector ones in traditional toy stores. You usually have to shop for them online. Beside the Barbie section, we've got all the different clone type dolls that you can get quite cheaply. One I did spot at the top here were called VIP Pets dolls. I hadn't seen these before and they seem to be another Spanish doll. I wasn't super taken with the design as pretty over the top, lots of colours and clearly childlike, but another interesting find nonetheless. So in terms of finding my top 5 and considering which of these dolls I actually might want to buy and think about doing a review of and finding more about, my runners-up are pretty clear. Unique Eyes, she's my first runner-up. I kind of like the idea of finding out what her magic eye function is, but other than that, well, not too much. VIP Girls, well, really definitely bottom of my list. She's feels a little bit trashy, a little bit along the lines of an OMG doll. And although they've come to grow on me, I honestly don't think I want to purchase one. We're moving up into my top 5. Number 5 would be Les Parisiennes. She's a beautiful doll, but the fabric body, the fabric clothes, just feels like something I wouldn't necessarily want to keep. I might look at her, she might sit on a shelf, but I can't see her really joining in with a collection. Mila, mon adorable poupée, she is quite adorable. And she is one I feel like I could really enjoy owning. I love that face. She's really sweet. And I think I'd enjoy buying clothes for her. Whether I end up checking one out, I don't know. But she is one I could see myself owning. Coming up into my top 3, these are the ones I really am considering and trying to decide whether I will grab and get hold of. My number 3, I'm going to put Corolle, girls. I think she's lovely, but at the same time, she feels more like a play doll than a collector piece. And I guess that's something that I might take into account. I really loved this one with the Parisian dress, and she's probably my number 1 if I'm going to buy one. It was really hard, and I guess it is really hard to choose between the first 2. I did think that I would put Nancy as number 1 because she is a doll that I've, looked at a lot before and wanted to get hold of. But actually, when I saw them in store, the Peti-cola, she is so lovely. Just such, I guess, she looks more collector level doll. So even though she's not exactly a fashion doll, I really feel like she is collector level. So because of that, I'm going to put Nancy as my number 2, and I'm going to pick Peti-cola as my number 1, especially thinking about that 40 centimeter doll who I think would fit in beautifully with my collection. She'd go well with vintage Sasha dolls. She'd also go really well with the Nancy dolls and I guess the vintage Nancy doll. So I'd love to see some comments as to what dolls you like best out of the ones that I discovered. Do you agree with my top 5? Is there one you would love to see me do a review of? Because I'm really looking forward to getting hold of some of these dolls and showing a bit more of them. Also, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't and like this video.